Who is here? Cornisha is here. Welcome. Oh, so many people are here. Oh, it's so great to see everybody. Magandang hapon.
Magandang hapon, sir.
Kamusta?
I'm good. How are you?
Mabuti, salamat. Let's see, Sukana is coming in. Oh, Sukana is coming in, and who else is going to be here? Oh, sorry. Let me just see. We've got greetings from Aban. Good afternoon, Aban. And we have greetings from Kim. Thank you, Kim. We have greetings from Sukana. Just see, we're going to wait for some more people, including our guest presenter. So, let me just come back here. Here we are. Is anybody else coming in? We're waiting for Amanda. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Hi, Haley. Kinu, good to see you, Kanu, and Amanda, and Sukana, and Holly. Oh, I'm so glad you made it, Holly. Oh, thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry I forgot to send you the link earlier.
No problem.
You just got it, right?
I got it. Yeah, all good.
Okay, great. Now, if only our guest presenter shows up. That's what I'm waiting for right now. I'm waiting for, oh, Cornisha's coming here. Olamide is coming in. Let's see. Okay, hold on, everybody. Give me, oh, Chanel is here. That's great. Good to see you again, Chanel. I'm so glad you've been making it for class. Really happy to see you again. And I hope you're enjoying it. And Darwin, I just admitted Darwin. Oh, and bringing in Aiden, bringing in Nicole. And give me 1 second. The most important person today is Dr. Latouche. So I'm just waiting for Dr. Latouche. Okay, hold on. Got to make sure he got my link to come into class. So give me 1 second, guys. I just got to call our guest presenter. 778. We got Dana coming in, and we got Angela coming in. And oh, hi, Liam. Yeah, Liam is, could you let me, Liam's, he's supposed to do a guest lecture for me right now. And I'm just waiting for him to sign into our Zoom room. And he's not here yet. Could you please, it's really, we're due at 3:20. Yeah, we're all waiting for him. Okay. Okay. All right. Please tell him that to if you can hustle it up. Lauren. Yeah, and if he has any problems, ask him to call me, please, at this number. Do you have my number coming up? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks so much. Great. All right, everybody. Hopefully he'll be here in a couple minutes. But while we're waiting for him, I'm going to be taking attendance. So Aiden, welcome Aiden. Welcome Kinu and Sukena and Cornisha. Anjali and Olamide and Manda. Let's hear a shout out whenever I call your name. I'd love to hear a shout out from you. Kim, how are you? Kim, calling Kim. Come in, Kim.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Paging Mr. Aban. Paging Mr. Aban. Please report to the front office, please. Mr. Aban to the front office. Hello. Oh, I sent you a link. You didn't get the link, eh? You couldn't click it. Oh, that's weird. Because the meeting is going on right now. Okay, okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you a link right here. I'm going to send you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to invite you through here. Hopefully this will work. Sorry. Yeah, so sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that. Let's try this. Okay. Give me your email address again. Do you want to, can you give me your email address again, Liam? Liam? Liam, are you there? Liam? Liam, are you there? Liam, are you there? Okay, can I get your email address? INFO, at liamlatouche.com. Info at liamlatouche.com. Okay, I just sent it to you. Hopefully you should be able to join us. Okay? Okay. 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 Did you get it? Okay. Perfect. There we go. Okay. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. Thank you, everybody. Ah, there's Liam.
Sorry for the delay,
Perfect.
guys.
Great, great, great. No worries, no worries. I'm just going to finish really quickly taking the attendance,
Yeah.
and then we'll get right into it. Aban, Haley, Sukena, and Amanda. Oh, I got you down already, Amanda. And I already have Sukena down. I'm taking you down twice. Oh, Chanel. And Nicole. Hi, Nicole. And Anjali. And Kate. And Holly. Holly, you've missed so many lectures this semester. You've only come to 2 of my classes all semester. Didn't do any of the assignments, didn't come in for the midterm exam. I'm a little bit concerned. So maybe you and I need to have a talk, because next week's the last week, and I know that you've asked if you can make up the assignments, but that's an awful lot of assignments for you to have to make up in 1 week.
It
So
is.
do you have?
We'll have to have a meeting, Lauren.
Yes, we have to have a meeting. I may have to call your parents into the meeting as well. But Listen, I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to let you off the hook this time, but you are going to have to re-register for the course. That's the only thing.
Oh,
I don't know.
amazing. Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I'll take nutrition. It seems so fun.
All right. I think I got everybody down there. Let's go. I want to take in a moment to introduce our guest presenter today. His name is Liam Latouche. He's a naturopathic doctor with a clinic here in Toronto. Liam and I met at a conference about a year and a half ago. And I will tell you right off the bat that what impressed me most about Dr. Latouche is his holistic approach to health and wellness. Now, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with what naturopathic medicine is. Perhaps, Liam, perhaps you can start by sharing with us a little bit about what naturopathic medicine is for those students who don't know, and how naturopathy is a bit different from the conventional medicine that we typically know. Because Dr. Latouche's practice focuses on all the things that we've talked about all semester: health, wellness, nutrition, healthy eating, stress management, all that kind of stuff. And because Dr. Latouche's focus is so similar to what we've been talking about all semester long, I thought that he would be a great way for us to end the semester and really kind of tie everything up, because the things that he's going to be talking to us about today are things that really impact our daily lives. Like, for example, supplements. Do we need supplements? The supplements market is crazy, and we're bombarded all the time with ads about you need this and you have to take this and you have to supplement with that. Well, do we really need to do that? Dr. Latouche is going to be talking about that, but as importantly, what is one of the things that stress that we've all experienced this year because of the pandemic? What's one of the things that stress does to our body? You know what it does? It compromises or potentially depresses our immune system. And stress has a major impact and plays a major role on our immune system. And so how do we strengthen our immune system naturally, holistically, during this pandemic, so that we can still be strong and our immune system can stay strong, so that we can do the things that we like to do and do them healthy? Dr. Latouche is going to be talking about ways to keep our immune system strong and healthy. Okay, so I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Liam Latouche to our class today. I would love for our class to give him a big Seneca College welcome. How about let's see some hand claps? Hand claps. I already see one from Aiden. Who's going to be the second hand clap? And Darwin, 2, 3. Look at the light. The board is lighting up. We got Holly. We've got, who else is going to, oh, we got a thumbs up from Aiden. We got a Nicole hand. We got a, oh my God, look at the board is lighting up. That is absolutely beautiful.
I'm even getting some hearts, so I'll take it.
Okay. Oh, sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. Take it away, Dr. Latouche. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Great to see all of your names. It's obviously a different style of guest lecture than what I might be used to. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Lauren, can you make me
a co-host?
If I can,
sure.
Yeah. So what I'll do, guys, in a sec, I'll share my screen with you guys and go through a hopefully not too boring, quick little chat, but I really want this to be as informative as possible and relevant as possible to what you guys are actually hoping to get from this. So I do want to start by just asking, you've been going through this nutrition class, you have your own, I guess, exposures and whatever when it comes to nutrition and supplements and all those kinds of things. Is there anything that you're hoping that we touch on just based on your understanding of naturopathic medicine, or questions you have, or just based on things that have come up so far in the course? Just so that
Feel
we can
free
make
to
this
either speak up to, voice-wise, or put your thoughts in the chat function.
Yeah. So while you guys think about that, I'll just give a second. I mean, does anyone have any specific things that they're hoping that we touch on? Cool. So what we'll do, throw them in the chat bar as we go. Hopefully I'll answer them naturally as we go forward. But if you do have any specific questions, I've been on the other end of this. I've been in the student's chair. And like I said, let's make this as relevant to what you guys are hoping to get from it as possible. When Lauren and I were talking about this, the situation that we all face, that we've been facing for an extended period of time now, has led to significant amounts of stress. And I do really want to tie that into immune function, because there is a real, very tight interconnectedness between and here someone's asked, well, Lauren's asking, what's the exact relationship between stress and immunity? And we're going to get into that, because the reality is we're all susceptible to this. We're all dealing with a ton of stress right now. And the ultimate goal in getting through all of this is to manage our stress, to come out, with our heads still on, and also to support optimal immune function. And so just very briefly, anything that I talk about does not replace or constitute medical advice. Still work with your care team to make sure that anything that you have questions about, or anything that you take, or anything that you do is safe and appropriate for you. So again, these are just general things that we consider within the world of health and wellness, and specifically naturopathic medicine, but not anything that I'm recommending as a specific treatment for anyone here. Just from a disclosure perspective, I do practice here in Toronto. I'm just in Etobicoke at Visionary Health. I also practice in Barrie at Rooted Naturopathic Clinic, and I teach nutrition students at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, the location at Yonge and Egg. And just so you guys know, as far as another disclosure, I do contract work for a supplement company. Sorry for the squeaky chair. I do contract work for a supplement company that operates out of BC. And so I do have some ties to them as well. Anything I speak on, though, are reflective of my own expression, my own views, rather. You can certainly read about my bio if you'd like, but just for some context, and what kind of initially connected Lauren and I is we both have a very strong passion and background in fitness. I did my undergrad in kinesiology. I then pursued a practice in strength coaching and rehab and fitness and all of those lovely things. And then I, in my own personal life, realized that in order to serve the people I'm working with in a more meaningful capacity, I wanted to kind of integrate more of the nutrition and holistic strategies. And that's what kind of brought me into naturopathic medicine. And VitaAid, sorry, someone's asking what company. It's VitaAid Professional Therapeutics. I've been practicing as a naturopath now for 7 years. I've been in the fitness industry for 15 plus years. And where I am now, I found a great ability to kind of marry both of those worlds and be able to help people in a way that I wasn't able to before. And I do love teaching. And so I'm excited to be able to connect with you guys here today as well. Lauren, you asked about what naturopathic medicine is and if anyone's not familiar with it. I'm just curious if you guys can raise hands. Has anyone seen a naturopathic doctor before? Or is this like completely, who the heck are you? What are you doing? Not too many hands. So I'm going to take that as not really. I wasn't aware of naturopathic medicine. Yeah, we got one. I wasn't aware of naturopathic medicine till like a week before I applied to the program, in all honesty. Not something that was on my radar, not something that was in the mainstream, and it's gradually becoming more central. In short, naturopathic doctors are trained as primary care providers, meaning the same reasons you would see your family doc, you can see a naturopathic doctor, and it's not one or the other. The goal is to really incorporate an integrative strategy whereby naturopaths focus on identifying and addressing the underlying root cause or causes of illness. We implement individualized care strategies that are focused on diet and lifestyle, so very much aligned with what you guys have been delving into. And although I can prescribe some medications, that's really not where the focus is. And we see the body as a whole. We treat the body as a whole. We try not to approach it as kind of independent and unique systems within the body. We really try to incorporate a more holistic and complete strategy. Like I said, diet and lifestyle. Some of the other modalities that we will use is we'll use herbs. That's really our main focus, well, at least in my practice, is herbal medicine or botanical medicine. Clinical nutrition, so going beyond kind of what generic considerations are in place around nutrition and optimal diet to really trying to target specific conditions, both from a disease prevention perspective as well as management. And as you guys can probably appreciate, although the conventional model, and when I say that, that's looking at the role of medical doctors, they are extremely well suited when it comes to dealing with acute emergencies and urgent conditions, when it comes to, the role of drugs and surgeries. But when we're looking at chronic diseases, things like diabetes and hypertension and obesity, drug therapy only goes so far. We really have to focus on fitness. We have to focus on nutrition. And this is where naturopathy can really shine. And there are some other modalities that will implement hydrotherapy, homeopathy. Naturopathic manipulation is essentially joint manipulation, similar to a treatment you would get with a chiropractor. We also do other forms of manual therapy, similar to what you would get with a physio or a massage therapist. And we do also play with acupuncture, which is always nice. So we do have a huge toolkit that we can utilize when trying to implement these individualized care plans. So not to go much further into this, but I hope this, if nothing else, helps to kind of just elucidate what we do, who we are, and kind of the framework and philosophy that we operate in, because you'll see that kind of come through as we go through the rest of today's chat. And if at any point you guys have questions, hop in the chat or just jump in and let me know. Like I said, I talk all day. I'd love for you guys to connect as well. I do want some participation for this one. I want to know what kind of things are stressing you guys out these days. I'm going to make some assumptions, but I'd love to know kind of what things are on your plate right now that are just not so nice. School, isolation, money, finances for sure as students, right? Job, lack of exercise, lack of access to exercise. Food. And when we say food, what kind, if you don't mind sharing, what do you mean by food as far as a stressor? Is it access to food? Is it the kinds of foods we eat? Is it food as a stress management technique? Thanks. Right, so access to food. It's a huge one, right? Missing friends and kind of connection, community, right? Right, interactions. I would throw in there relationships. I'm sure some of you guys have relationships that can have their ups and downs, right? Whether it's with family, whether it's with friends, whether it's with a significant other. Online learning, huge shift, right? Huge adaptation. I teach online as well, and I know, Lauren, you're having to adapt. The students are having to adapt, everyone. Online learning, online teaching, right? And it's been an extended period of time, and it's been one that up until recently, we haven't really had the light at the end of the tunnel. And even now, there's still a lot of uncertainty, right? We're getting into the long weekend. There's still a lockdown in place. There's still, today was higher levels of COVID, of positive tests. It's been a really challenging experience. I appreciate the input, guys. This is great, and this is what I'm looking for. The reality is we all deal with a number of these kinds of stressors on a day-to-day basis, right? And what I'm looking to do is start to elucidate the connection between what these stressors are, how our body manages that, how it influences our immune system, and then going from there. Graduating, absolutely, right? So kind of thinking about all of the dynamics of school when it comes to just getting through school in general, graduation and what's on the other side, as well as the new way of learning and the challenges that's presented rather. That's awesome, guys. Thank you. So chipping forward here, when we're looking at stress, like what is it, right? One, it's a process through which environmental demands tax or exceed the adaptive capacity of the organism. That's a really technical way of saying it's anything that puts you on your butt, right? The way we want to think about this, though, is stress is necessary. For any of you guys that have ever been in the gym or ever done any kind of athletics, how do you get stronger, faster, better if you don't stress your body, right? If you don't go from lifting 10 pounds to 20 pounds, there's no adaptation, there's no growth, there's no development. If you don't go through new classes with awesome professors like Lauren, and you don't, challenge your mind in a way that expands your mind and breaks down barriers, and right, stress is necessary for growth. And we have to remember that stress is a defense or rather our response to stress is a defense mechanism that has allowed for us to evolve as a species. Like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't not so much for the stress, but more so the response and the adaptation that we've been able to manifest in response to stress. And the other thing I want to share is stress is stress is stress, right? You guys just helped me create a list of stressors that you deal with on a regular basis. Irrespective of whether it's job or relationship or assignments or dealing with a pandemic, your body responds in the same way, right? Does anyone know what the term is that has been used to capture the stress response? It's with two F's. F as in Frank. Have you guys heard of a term that's been used to kind of to capture or help us understand what the stress response is like, or what it is? You guys have heard of fight or flight, right? The fight or flight response. Like, we adapted this response in order to be able to deal with the threats that we were experiencing time and time again through our evolution. We basically developed this to be able to run away from the bear, run away from the tiger, manage famines, right? You either fight or you dash, you take off, you run, right? And we've come to a point in our evolution where we're not running from the bear, we're not running from the tiger. We're dealing with assignments, we're dealing with relationship conflicts, we're dealing with pandemics, but the chemistry associated with that stress is the same. But we're not burning off that fuel, we're not burning off that sugar, which we'll talk about a little later on. And so how does our body manage all of that chemistry, everything that's boiling up in the body, when we're not actually running or fighting, when we're sitting there and we just have to deal with that stressor, right? Our body doesn't distinguish between one stress or another. And that is really what has brought us into a point where chronic stress is such a challenge in our everyday lives, right? We wake up in the morning, you wake up late, you're late for the bus, not so much nowadays, but you're late for the bus, you get to school, you're frazzled, you haven't eaten, you get, you spill your water on your laptop, it just escalates, right? And there's a situation where this can just compound day in and day out. And one of the questions just came in is there such a thing as living stress-free? And what I'm going to speak about towards the end of today's chat is moving away from believing that avoiding stress is inevitable or is possible. It's not. It's more so our mindset, and it's how we manage the stress. What I want to look at is burnout. Like, this is when things really get out of hand, right? We've been dealing with stress for an extended period of time. Our body's ability to manage and adapt to that stress is overwhelmed, and now we're knocked on our butt. Now we're not doing very well. Now the immune system is going to start to suffer. In addition to our mood, in addition to joy, in addition to physical stamina and energy, right? It's much more about how we deal with stress. It's much more about our mindset. It's much more about providing a framework for our body to do the best it can while we live in what's inherently a stressful and challenging world. And that's not to be negative. That's just what it is. But we can reframe that in such a way that that perception of negativity won't have the same impact on us. Has anyone felt burnt out? Like, has anyone got to the point where they're really irritable and snappy, they're frustrated easily, they're not finding joy in the same things that would normally bring them joy? You're just dragging yourself out of bed in the morning? Yeah, sadly, yes. Like, me too. Like, we're right in the crux of in the I shouldn't say in the crux of it, right in it. Right? Harder to get motivation, right? Trying to get up and out of what's actually been a really dark space for a lot of people. That's been tough, right? And so I would say, if you're not there, and I'm hoping you're not, a lot of people are teetering on this. And the reality is, it's a lot easier to prevent burnout than to manage it. So the goal is really to try and keep people from getting to that point. And I just want to echo what Lauren just posted here. I'm really appreciative of the open and honest and candid discussion you guys are having right now. It's a tough topic, and it's one that we're all dealing with, right? So what do we do with this, right? Do we just sit and wallow and, that's c'est la vie, that's it? No, we try to foster resilience. And what's awesome is that resilience is taught, it's not inborn, Resilience is the ability to maintain adaptation and effective functioning under significant adversity or challenging life conditions. And I should put in here prolonged, right? We're looking at situations where this stress is just prolonged. Right, and again, just appreciative of everyone kind of sharing here and just looking at, not only are we dealing with stressful circumstances, but everyone is in a position where they're, either feeling like or actually, having to deal with this alone, right? There's a lack of a network and framework and safety net in place that was otherwise there before. And so it's so much easier for that stress to just, to steamroll. This is a very slippery slope, right? And one of the questions is adaptation, right? How do we maintain adaptation? This is the ability, some would say, to roll with the punches. This is the ability to foster tools that allow you to manage what you're facing. And the way I want you to think about that is, there was a point in time where you didn't know how to do your multiplication tables, or you didn't know how to write an essay, or you didn't know how to run, or you didn't know how to do a pull-up, or you didn't know how to eat a specific way, which is reflective of healthy eating. You went about a process of learning, of applying that knowledge, of practicing those skills and harnessing those skills to be able to then implement a new skill set. And that's really what we're looking at here, is we're looking at a situation where we're working to foster resilience, adaptability, the ability to generate and foster and harness skills that will allow you to deal with what you're dealing with. Awesome point, right? So similar to evolution, we were so stressed that we adapted and made things that kind of eased the stress, right? You can imagine what fire did as far as an adaptation tool to be able to facilitate evolution. You think about the ability of early humans to be resourceful, right? To go through mass migrations, to go through trial and error of eating foods that probably wiped out a number of the people in their community, right? Just to find the things that aren't poisonous and that you can eat, and all of those kinds of things, right? It's ingrained into us. And I think, to me, I won't stay on this slide too much longer. To me, the main way to think about adaptation is in the gym or any kind of fitness. You go from doing one push-up on your knees to a push-up from your toes to 10 push-ups on your toes to whatever the case may be, right? And it's a matter of continually training the body to manage whatever challenge you are facing. And you know what, I realized I had pulled the visual that I had here, but the tree that has give can manage the windstorm. The rigid tree will get knocked over. I'm sure I've stolen that from or borrowed it from some Confucius saying or something along those lines. But it's that ability to flow that allows us to facilitate adaptation and resilience. So what I want to do, guys, is I want to spend a few minutes just looking at the connection between stress and immune function. And as we go forward, we're also going to talk about nutrient deficiencies, so a couple kind of key nutrient considerations, as well as impaired microbiota. And we'll talk about what the heck that is in a moment. So a question came up earlier about chronic stress and immune function and what's the actual connection. Do you guys remember me saying fight or flight? Right, I used the term fight or flight to describe the stress response. Think about this. Put yourself, 200,000 years ago, early humans, 300,000 years ago. You're out hunting or foraging. You look behind you and there's a saber-toothed tiger. What are you going to do? If you can try and fight it. Otherwise, you're going to bolt it. You're going to run. In order to run away from that saber-toothed tiger, your body needs to focus on fueling your muscles. What's going to happen? Your blood sugar levels are going to rise. Your blood pressure is going to increase. You're going to get some vasodilation. Your vessels are going to increase, so we can get blood throughout the body and we can get fuel throughout the body, so you can book it, so you can get out of there. The issue is, when you're running from that tiger, all non-essential functions are going to be suppressed. your immune system means nothing if you die, if you get eaten by that tiger. Your reproductive function, your digestive function, none of this matters when you're running from a tiger. And so the reality is a number of systems in our body start to get suppressed, our immune system being one of them, when we're chronically stressed. We also see issues with fertility. We also see issues with digestion, people getting really gassy and getting heartburn, all as a result of chronic stress. But we're going to center in on the immune system. Does that make sense? Do you guys kind of see that? So basically any non-essential functions, including the immune system, gets suppressed because your brain is still hardwired to think that you're running from a tiger and not that you're dealing with an assignment or a pandemic or an argument with your partner. So let's dive into this a little bit. So chronic stress, I don't have the luxury of being able to run this video for you, but if you guys have 20 minutes, I will be sharing this set of slides with Lauren and he'll post it for you guys. I really, really, really recommend you guys listen to this TED Talk. Even put it on double speed, I don't care, but just it's really valuable. We talked about resilience. We talked about adaptation and adaptability. And this is one of the most powerful ways to facilitate it. Kelly McGonigal is a researcher who's really been able to help us frame stress in a positive fashion and understand that stress is not actually your enemy. Awesome, you've seen it, great. So just to read from her blurb, right? So stress, it makes your heart pound, your breathing quicken, and your forehead sweat. But while stress has been made into a public health enemy, new research suggests that stress may only be bad for you if you believe it to be the case. There was a really interesting study that demonstrated that individuals who were under high stress that believed that their stress, the effect of the stress was negative, had an increased risk of death. Whereas those people that were under the same amount of stress, say dealing with the same things, but didn't have that same mental perception, had a lower likelihood of dying. Like that's a hugely significant outcome. And in this case, controlling for other variables, the key consideration was mindset. And I know this is nothing new. We all talk about mindset, in some way, shape, or form that's come across, your radar. But there are some specific mechanisms that you can look at. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out. I've got a ton of resources that I'd be happy to share. But to start, and again, I wish I had the luxury of being able to be able to go through this with you, but I strongly urge you to check that out on your own. And I'm going to focus our chat today on the next couple slides, which really has to do with nutrition. But there's a term called hormesis. And what hormesis reflects, is the Goldilocks zone, right? So there's a situation where if we're stressed, if we don't perceive stress at all, or if we're overly stressed, that's not good. If you guys remember Goldilocks, that's the porridge is too cold or the porridge is too hot. Hormesis is the porridge is just right. It's NBA playoffs right now. If LeBron James was at the free throw line, for anyone that follows basketball, but it's the same for any penalty shot, and he wasn't stressed enough, he wouldn't show up. He wouldn't have any motivation, no engagement, and he would miss the free throw shot. If he was overly stressed, he would be overthinking, he would be sweating, he would be in a poor mindset, and he would miss the shot. But individuals who are able to foster this flow and get into this hormesis or get in the zone, they're able to use stress as their friend. It's not that they're understressed or overstressed, they're in that Goldilocks zone. Any questions so far? I know, but it's LeBron, man. We have a Warriors fan or someone who doesn't like the Lakers or LeBron. And it's not the Warriors of days past, unfortunately. Let's chat about nutrient deficiencies. That's fair enough. Curry is awesome. Let's chat a little bit about nutrient deficiencies. I realize after preparing this for you, I wanted to actually focus on a couple other things, and then we'll zero in on vitamin D. Are there, I'm just curious if anyone's comfortable sharing, and you don't have to, is anyone comfortable sharing what supplements they do take? You don't have to share why or anything like that. And if you don't want to, that's always cool because that's your personal information. But I'd love to know if anyone is comfortable sharing any supplements they do currently take. So someone's taking iron, B12, iron. Anything else? A few irons, okay. Whey protein, awesome, yeah. Vitamin D, right? And you see that one's obviously being showcased here, D and B12, multi. Awesome. And what's interesting, and I'm so glad you guys have like showcased a couple of these ones. Generally speaking, when it comes to things like vitamin D, pizza, yeah, definitely supplement with pizza, vitamin D, B12, iron, these are used generally to correct for nutrient deficiencies. And one of the things we want to be mindful of when we're looking at supplements is the fact that supplements are often thought of as like primary strategies, and that's not actually the case. Like supplements are just that. They're there to supplement a diet. They're there to supplement lifestyle strategies. And what I mean by that is without that foundation in place of a healthy lifestyle and healthy dietary considerations, supplements only go so far. But there are specific nutrients that may be deficient for someone. And there are either 4 or 5 supplements that I generally consider when I'm working with my patients. And this doesn't mean you should go out and pick them up. This just means these are the things I'm thinking about. Top on the list, and this is non-negotiable for everyone, is vitamin D. It's best to have your levels tested because the dose you're taking might be way too low or way too high. And the sad reality, and this is really dated, this is research that was done in 2010 or 2011, approximately 1/3 of Canadians have low levels of vitamin D. I would argue that it's vastly higher, and 8, 9 out of 10 patients who I test their blood levels are deficient. That's reflective of who I see in my practice, but the reason this is important is because it plays such a huge role in everything from bone health to immune function to muscular strength to mood, and we tend to be really low. So basically, anywhere north of Atlanta and anywhere with seasons, such as Toronto, we don't tend to get enough exposure to sunlight, which is where we get natural vitamin D production, as we would if we were closer to the equator or if we had year-round sun. And even in the summer, a lot of us have sunscreen on, we're wearing, coverings, and so we don't get appropriate conversion. Those of us that have, darker skin tones, we're going to need more sun exposure to make the same amount of vitamin D. As you age, you make less. So this is why it's recommended that all Canadians supplement with vitamin D, because we're just not going to get it from the sun, unfortunately. So vitamin D tends to be one of the main priority supplements that I do recommend across the board. I highly recommend you speak to your primary healthcare provider about that if you're not taking it already. The other one that we'll talk about in a moment are probiotics. We'll talk about why that's important. And then the other possible players, which we're not really going to talk about, but if you want to ask questions, you can ask me, later on, would be fish oil and magnesium. Fish oil, largely because of how it can help reduce inflammation. It helps with cardiovascular function. It helps with mood regulation. And we typically don't eat a lot of fish in our diet. And even with fish, we have to be mindful of heavy metals and some toxins. And magnesium. Magnesium plays a role in over 300 different functions in the body, way more than I could possibly list. The main ones: physical tension, mental relaxation, energy production. I think I said, relaxation, mood. Fish oil tastes bad. You can get it in capsules. We can work around the fish oil taste. Lauren's asking if you need to supplement with vitamin D in the summer since we get it from the sun. It depends. Generally speaking, the recommendation is to take a baseline dose throughout the year, which is generally 1,000 international units per day in and day out, year round. Theoretically, in the summer, we would not necessarily need the same exposure, especially if we're getting out with face, arms, and legs exposed for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. But again, not everyone gets that exposure. And a question came in about tanning, and it's a bit different as far as the UV rays used for tanning versus for vitamin D production. Typically, we would want to still, rely on a supplement and the sun exposure. The only thing with magnesium that I didn't chat about, guys, is the fact that we don't get it in our food the way we used to. And so, unfortunately, agricultural practices nowadays have rendered soil more devoid of a lot of minerals, magnesium being a major one. And the fact that magnesium plays a role in so many different functions, it can be important. And again, I'm not saying go out and pick up a magnesium supplement. I'm saying it's something that's worth speaking to a naturopath about so that you can better understand, is it the right thing for you? What's the right dose? What's the right form, right? There's certain magnesiums that will give you pretty intense diarrhea, so we don't want to necessarily go that route. The question just came in, right? So there's magnesium bisglycinate would be the form that we would typically want to utilize, right? There are about 3 or 4 different ones. This is the one that generally has the best absorption, so causes the least amount of digestive issues. And the question just came in, if it's a supplement and not as good as the real thing, what would happen if you only got vitamin D from a supplement and went outside very rarely? So put it this way, that's a really good point in question. It's interesting, we can't really package nature in a bottle, right? It's not gonna happen. And so when you get sun exposure on your skin, you make vitamin D, but you also make a handful of other substances that you would never make in a vitamin D supplement. So where we lose out with relying on a supplement and not relying on the real deal, sun exposure, and kind of the way we evolved, is we get the vitamin D, but we don't get some of those other substances. However, that being said, at the end of the day, if your vitamin D levels are normal and optimal, and you're getting that from a supplement, you're still doing yourself a huge benefit. So it's still not the same, but it's definitely, in the case of vitamin D, very important. And one of the questions then, are supplements just a money grab? There are absolutely a handful of supplements that are a money grab. So unfortunately, it's an industry that is not as well regulated as pharmaceutical industry, insofar as you don't have to do these rigorous clinical trials before something is brought to market. There's some reasons for that, but the bottom line is there are a number of supplements that are very evidence-based, that work tremendously well when used in the right way. There are a handful of them that are a complete waste of money. So it's not a blanket statement one or the other. It's more so sifting through the weeds to figure out what's the right ones for a specific person. And another question in, can certain supplements stop or cause diarrhea? There's a kind of magnesium called magnesium oxide, O-X-I-D-E, oxide. That magnesium tends to work really well if you're constipated, but if you're not constipated, it can give you diarrhea, which isn't so nice. But again, it just really depends on a number of factors, what the supplement is and other things. But any supplement can upset your belly. The wrong kind of magnesium, not the wrong, an inappropriate one for what your needs are can specifically cause diarrhea. The question came in about, what about sunscreen? We're told to wear it in the summer, and that will block a lot of the vitamin D absorption. So it's a matter of balancing, is someone at risk for, the harms of excess sun exposure? Do they need to be mindful of slapping on some extra, extra strength sunscreen? And if so, making sure they're getting their vitamin D from a supplement. There may be safe ways to get sun exposure early in the morning, later in the evening without sunscreen on, but that would be, again, a discussion to have with your family doc. But the reality is sunscreen will block a lot of the conversion of sunlight to vitamin D in the body. So it's a matter of just weighing out, what are the person's risks. Awesome, guys. Really good points and questions here. So just to kind of zero back on this, there are a number of factors that can influence how well and how well we convert sunlight to vitamin D, how much we get. And generally speaking, we're recommended to take a supplement. This is dated, and despite the Health Canada recommendations changing in the past maybe in the past month, they haven't updated on their website. But individuals, children and adults 9 to 70 are generally recommended to actually take 1,000 IU, but more recently, the recommendation is 2,500. IU just being the measurement, the unit of measurement for the vitamin D. I think I saw a question come in. And the question is, how long should we be in the sun for? It's really individual. Generally, we're looking for 10 to 15 minutes sun exposure outside of the midday hours, right? So again, earlier in the morning, later in the evening when the sun's rays aren't as intense, less likelihood of burning and skin damage. But we're generally looking for like 10 to 15 minutes of sun exposure. And the question is, would 2,500 IU be all year or just in the summer? Good question. Generally speaking, all year. Depending on the individual case, sometimes we go high in the winter, lower in the summer. Again, what I'm looking at is what's the person's skin tone, how much sun exposure are they getting, how much sunscreen are they using. So it really depends, but basically the baseline 2,500 milligrams is year round. And one thing I want to mention, guys, one of the questions was, are supplements a money grab? And again, that's a gray area, it depends. But what I highly recommend against generally are tablets. What's better than tablets, meaning the hard packed white pills, would be capsules or liquids, especially for vitamin D. We generally do not absorb the hard packed pills, the tablets, as well as we do capsules or other forms like liquid or oils. And when it comes to vitamin D, I highly recommend that you get an oil-based or liquid-based formula. There are a million brands out there, but as long as it's a liquid or an oil, that's really what we're looking for. One of the questions is, who is this chart made for? This is for Canadians in general, but I would say we generally want to individualize it by, I know Canada's so diverse, but generally we're just saying Canadians. This is why, again, monitoring someone's blood work would be really important. So, as and when you guys are young for this, but as and when it comes time to have, blood work reviewed and checked and things like that, vitamin D is something that should be looked at so that the dose is appropriate for what your needs are. But generally speaking, taking the 2,500 IU will ensure that someone, for the most part, across the various dynamics of what it means to be Canadian, will be hitting the mark, generally speaking. And the question is, can you get too much? Generally from the sun, you're not going to get an overdose of vitamin D, but you can overdose on the supplement. So it's important to remember that. And when we take too much vitamin D as a supplement, it can lead to calcium levels rising in the blood, and that's not good. That can lead to a lot of issues. So more is not better. It's the right amount. So, So I'm just going to jump back. Are there any questions about vitamin D? So basically what we're looking at, I'm going to jump back a little bit. Nutrient deficiencies can be a major driver of immune dysregulation. Vitamin D is probably one of the most important nutrients that we are often deficient in. That requires, pretty much all Canadians require supplementation. Try to get safe sun exposure come summer. It's starting to get a little bit nicer now. But this would be the lowest hanging fruit. The most impactful thing you can do is make sure to get, I'm sorry, I'm sorry guys, I know I'm running a bit long here. I'll start to bring it in for a landing. So vitamin D is by far the most important thing that we can target. The other thing, and I'll go through this a little bit quickly and then we'll wrap up, and I'll certainly hang back if anyone has questions, are probiotics. Right? So probiotics, I didn't see anyone say that they're supplementing with these, but probiotics are really popular these days. And probiotics are essentially the healthy bacteria within your digestive tract, the healthy bacteria within your digestive tract. And the way they work is they balance the health of your digestive tract, and they also work to enhance your immune system. About around 75, 80% of your immune system resides within your digestive tract. And I'm just going to jump back. That's where an impaired balance of bacteria in your gut can actually be a huge driver of poor immune function. And so probiotics are another thing that we want to be mindful of, predominantly from diet, but there are times where supplementing is the right way to go. It's obviously, because of its presence within your digestive tract, going to help with digestion, helps with immunity, can also play a role in weight management, metabolism, mental health, and depression. And you can see two key areas we've been focusing on, right? Immune function and mental well-being with the stress piece. So does anyone eat things like yogurt, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi? Just curious if anyone plays around with any of this stuff. Yep, awesome. So the reality is all of these foods, kefir, yeah, these are fermented foods that are rich in probiotics. And the more you can incorporate these into your diet, the better. And the more variety you can get, the better. We evolved consuming fermented foods because that's how we preserved things. That's how we allowed things to be safe and consume it over a long period of time. Mango kefir, awesome. And you can get, if someone is dairy intolerant, you can get coconut yogurt, you can get coconut kefir, or kefir, however you choose, tomato. But the bottom line is, again, it's two things. We need volume. So we want to be consuming ample amounts. So I try to get people to consume it at least 1 to 3 times per week, a serving of any of these guys. And you want to try and get a variety. So if all you eat is yogurt, try some sauerkraut, try some kombucha, try some kefir, try some kimchi, and mix it up a little bit. And one last thing I'll leave you guys with, the advantage of sauerkraut and kimchi. Does anyone know what they're made of, what vegetable they're made of? Cabbage. Cabbage is a huge P-R-E, biotic. Prebiotics feed probiotics. It's all well and good to eat these probiotic-rich foods or take a probiotic supplement, but if you don't feed them with fiber, such as cabbage or anything that can get stuck in your teeth, think broccoli, think celery, think all of Jerusalem artichoke, asparagus. If we don't do that, we're not feeding these guys and they're not able to set up shop. And so just bear in mind that it's not that this is better, but it does have a double whammy effect. And a question came in, bottled sauerkraut does not have a lot of probiotics. It's going to depend, and again, it's not something where they're testing and labeling it, but it will have some probiotic cultures in there. My wife is more adventurous than me, and we bought this like huge 35-liter sauerkraut maker, and we'll see how that goes. Awesome, guys. I appreciate your attention. There will be some additional resources here. One is to Health Canada, which really just outlines a lot of basic considerations. Anyone that's interested in the world of supplements, and I'm not saying go to this and then take all of the things, it's just to work on the education piece. Examine.com is a really good starting point, very evidence-based, gives you a lot of really valuable information about everything out there. And I forget who asked about, are supplements a waste of money? Or this will help you understand, is something actually backed by any research? What does it do? So examine.com, and Lauren actually shared this with me, so shout out to you. NIH, the Office of Dietary Supplements, another really great resource. And then for anyone that really, really, really wants to nerd out from a nutrition perspective, check out the Linus Pauling Institute through Oregon State University. It's very technical, but it is an awesome resource and one that you guys can consider. Okay, guys, I know I kept you late. I apologize. It was a bit of technical difficulties getting in, but thank you so much for the engagement and interaction. I know this was really short and sweet, but I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. You can hit me up on social or via email. Instagram and email are, well, Instagram I'll probably get back to you quickest. email, I might take some time, but it's good as well. And shameless plug, if you want to check out my site, go for it. But thank you guys. And again, Lauren, I appreciate the opportunity to steal one of your classes in. One of the questions, take fish oil or eat fish? The recommendation is to consume fatty fish 3 times per week and supplement on days you don't consume those fish. Smash are the fatty fish. Salmon, mackerel, I don't know if it's an AL or EL. Anchovies, sardines, herring. Does anyone need any of these guys? Mackerels and E, thought so. All of them, awesome. These fish are fatty, cold water fish, super rich in omega-3 fats. Thanks, Nicole. See, I struggle without autocorrect, right? It's gotten to that point. Sadly. Can you tell us why what omega-6 is? So both omega-6 and omega-3s are specific kinds of fatty acids that our body needs for functioning. At the end of the day, as with everything in life, it's about balance. When our body's balance of omega-3s and omega-6s gets out of whack, we don't do so well. We evolved with an optimal ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s of about 4:1. We currently consume a diet that gives us about 20 to 40 omega-6 for every 1 omega-3. We've tipped the scales, and that's not good because certain kinds of omega-6s can be pro-inflammatory. They can light fires in the body, whereby omega-3s put those fires out. As you can imagine, if someone's lighting a whole bunch of fires and we don't have enough fire extinguishers on hand, where are we going to be? Right? There's going to be, we're going to burn. And so what we're trying to achieve when we're thinking about things like fish oil, as well as ground flaxseed, hemp hearts, chia seeds, walnuts, walnuts, is to get sufficient omega-3s so that we can balance that ratio out. The other way you balance that ratio out is cut back. Great question. So what foods contain omega-6? I was just going to get to that. We can get healthy omega-6s. This is omega-3s. Are your smash fish and these guys. Your omega-6, sorry guys, I can't type well today. Your omega-6, does anyone know, while I put this together here, anyone know where we get omega-6? Meats, yeah, so the bad kind, the bad kind are, we get fried foods deliver way too much of the bad, the inflammatory omega-6. So the more we avoid fast foods, fried foods, that's really what's going to be a huge factor here. Chips, sadly, I love my chips. The good kind of omega-6s we get from things like sunflower, sesame. So we still get healthy omega-6s, but it's the fried foods that we need to cut down on and up our intake of the good guys here. Any other questions, guys? If you don't eat fish, go for the plant-based sources. The reality is you get omega-3s from the fish or from the plant-based sources, and algae is another one. There's a lot of algae-based omega-3 supplements. The downside with the plant-based options versus the fish or marine-based options is the conversion of the omega-3 into the therapeutic constituents. So basically omega-3 gets broken down into substances that deliver a really potent anti-inflammatory effect. However, if you don't do fish, I would go for an algae-based supplement or just make sure we're getting a lot of the plant-based foods in the mix. And if you consume any of these, the flax, the hemp hearts, the chia, the walnuts, keep them in the fridge. No one's ever told that. the oils, those omega-3 oils are really sensitive to light, to air, and to heat. And if they get exposed to light, air, and heat, i.e. sitting on your counter, they start to break down and they don't have the same benefit. So if you're going for any of the plant-based options, keep them in the fridge. If you're supplementing, keep it in the fridge. Is there a plant-based supplement for every vitamin or mineral? Yeah, generally speaking. Again, I'm mindful of my conflict of interest, but the company I work for, we create exclusively vegetarian products just for that reason. But they're outside of the company I work for. There's a number of other options out there that that make vegan or vegetarian options. Good Lord, keep it in the fridge, man. Awesome. Vitamin D, you don't need to keep in the fridge. So that's a different kind of oil. Creatine and caffeine, both really valuable tools when it comes to exercise support, right? So creatine, we're thinking about the ability to be able to push harder within the gym and then develop greater strength gains. You do see weight gain, as you guys may have heard of, and the part of that comes from muscle, but part of it comes from water retention. Creatine loves water, and so it tends to absorb a lot of it. It's not the right thing for everyone, but generally it's safe. But it is one of the more common and more heavily used sports supplements. Caffeine as well, not everyone does great with it, but it can reduce your perception of fatigue. And as a result, you can push a little bit harder because you're not registering the fatigue the same way you would otherwise. So it's not upping your performance, but it's helping you push a bit harder because you're not thinking that you're as fatigued as you would have been otherwise. And a question has come in about green tea, black tea, white tea. Oh man, such awesome questions. I could do whole lectures on these individually. Go to the Linus Pauling website and type in flavonoids. Flavonoids. Flavonoids are the therapeutic constituent that we get from brightly colored fruits, veggies, and herbs and spices and teas. And you'll see a list of all of these awesome nutrients that we get. So the short answer is it's not better or worse. It's about variety and diversity. So the more variety we get, if you get blueberries, blackberries, curcumin, clove, broccoli, onion, and black tea and green tea, like that's what's going to make the difference. Phytochemicals, awesome. So that's flavonoids are a kind of phytochemical, sometimes called phytonutrient. So the bottom line, the big difference when we're looking at like green tea, black tea, one is caffeine, right? So coffee would have the highest amount of caffeine, then black tea, then green tea. The awesome thing about green tea is there is a substance called EGCG, and EGCG has amazing liver detox support, anti-inflammatory effect, anti-cancer effects. So I tend to use green tea more medicinally. I try to get my patients to consume, 4 cups per day, 2 to 4 cups per day, if it's an appropriate strategy and if they can tolerate caffeine. So not for everyone, but it's because green tea versus black tea has this specific constituent. But black tea is still good, coffee is still good, as long as the person can tolerate it. I can't do caffeine. I get way too jittery, so I can't do it. Does black tea have more caffeine than green tea? Black tea does have more caffeine than green tea. I don't know how much, but it does. I did a Bachelor of Science in kinesiology at Western, and I actually didn't do really any nutritional training there. It all came through my naturopathic training. But if Kate, if you do have any specific questions, please contact me. I'd love to give you some more insight. And there are some specific kind of high school requirements that would have been required for as prereqs for that program, which I can share. Max amount of coffee or caffeine or tea to drink. It depends. I try not to have people consume more than 2 cups of coffee per day. You want to think about it this way. If you were to hop in a car and drive from here to Niagara, what would you see with the fuel gauge? That fuel gauge would decrease. What does coffee do? It revs the engine it doesn't fill up the fuel tank, right? This is kind of the yin and yang of energy. And what I'm getting at is we don't want to take so much caffeine that we're just revving the engine and depleting the fuel tank. We need sleep, we need hydration, we need good food to fill that fuel tank up, and we need to try and prevent the depletion of that fuel tank by over consuming caffeine. So I say no more than 2 cups of coffee, no more than 4 cups of green tea, no more than 2 to 3 cups of black tea, but it's very individual. Those are very generic statements. Chamomile tea, it's going to put you to sleep, right? So it's going to chill the mind out, right? So that would be great in the evening to help mellow you out. And most people do very well with it. If you have an upset stomach, that can be helpful. Peppermint or chamomile can be really helpful, but it's decaf, right? It's not decaf, it's caffeine free. Why does caffeine not affect me? For the opposite reason that it overly affects me. Your liver processes caffeine, and in your case, it processes it really quickly. In my case, it processes it really slowly. So I feel the effects, where for you, it just rifles right through your body. And that has to do with how your liver detoxifies that. Thoughts on taking melatonin? Again, it depends on what the person's needs are. Everything I'm talking about is, again, generic, but if someone were to need it, melatonin is naturally produced between 7:30, 8:30, 9:30 p.m. at night. What I would say is, rather than take melatonin, the biggest thing we need to do, guys, is put on blue blocking glasses. You've probably heard about the fact that backlit screens, your phone, your computer, your TV, your tablet, emits a blue light that causes your body to suppress the release of melatonin. And so often we end up taking melatonin to try and override that, but by getting blue blocking glasses or using a filter like Flux or Nighttime on your phone, that can help. Otherwise, melatonin can help to shift the body into that sleep state when it's appropriate. You can't really OD on it. You'll wake up feeling like a zombie. That's probably the worst of it. We don't recommend people take more than 20 milligrams, but that's only done in cancer settings. Most people for sleep, they're taking 3 to 5 to maybe 10 milligrams if it's appropriate for them. Some people it helps, some people it doesn't. And the worst side effect is you wake up feeling like a truck hit you sometimes. Awesome questions, guys. Any other questions? What I will say, just because on the topic of supplements, if you were to take supplements, one, I'm biased because I'm a naturopathic doctor, but please speak with a naturopathic doctor, because I think it's in your best interest to don't waste your money, don't waste your time, and get the right stuff. Two, if you were to venture out on your own, make sure that you're buying products from Canada. Canadian products have something called an NPN, N as in Nancy, P as in Peter, NPN number. And what that means is they've met specific Health Canada regulations. It's much tighter than in the States. So you want to flip the bottle around and see NPN and a number behind that. The other thing is you want to make sure that the product is third-party tested. And that you may not know. You may need to speak to someone that has that information. Third-party testing means the company makes the product, they send it to a lab that has no affiliation with them, and the lab makes sure that, one, there's no contaminants, and two, it has what it's actually supposed to have. Right? So it's not going to make you sick or put some crap into your body, and it's also going to have what you're hoping to take. Third-party testing. And the other part of it is, like I said, I really recommend you work with a professional, because it's a bit of the Wild West out there, and it's helpful to have some degree of streamlined focus, safety, all of that kind of stuff. Nicole asked if I take supplements. I do. I have a pretty big cabinet of supplements at home. I saw my naturopath this morning, right? So I try to rely on the guidance of someone else rather than always treating myself. So I do. I would say of the key ones I mentioned earlier, I do take those in particular. High blood pressure, again, I'm not diagnosing or treating anyone, but what we sometimes use for blood pressure is magnesium and something called coenzyme Q10. and magnesium. Again, but I'm not providing any medical advice. Yeah, if you want to learn about naturopathy, I thought I meant to put that on the slide, so I'm actually going to do that now so I don't forget. But I will basically, if you can go to our local and national association of naturopaths, that would be the best place. I'm going to add that here so I don't forget to add that in, CND and OEND. That's great, guys. I think I will have to wrap up shortly just because I've got a patient coming in soon, but I do want to keep the floor open if you guys have any questions before we wrap up. I don't know how much they'll want to. They are quite shy. That's awesome, guys. So it sounds like you're nearing the end. Best of luck on the home stretch of this course. Best of luck with respect to the rest of the program and everything you guys are doing. Please reach out if you have questions, comments, concerns about anything. Again, Lauren, I really appreciate this opportunity. This was great.
This is absolutely fantastic. First of all, of that, everybody stayed. You know, what time is it now? It's like 4:35. People stayed 15 minutes later. So
yeah, thank you, guys.
I think this is a reflection of how interesting your presentation was, and how you can see people just want more nutrition information.
Yeah.
You know, all the questions that you got. I mean, like, it's true. You could stay here another hour if you want, answering questions from the students. That's why I suggested that your patient join us.
Yeah.
That, you know, but no, seriously, yeah, just like what Nicole said, we learned a lot, and everybody's like, nutrition is, you know, part of our life. And so the fact that you came here and provided such great information and such great resources on like the most important things that we need to know: vitamin D supplementation, probiotics, what was the other one that you shared? Oh, prebiotics, also
and the stress,
prebiotics.
yeah.
You know, this is just great information that we don't get enough information about, and you made it very easy to understand. You clarified it, and you know, we're just really, really grateful that you took time out of your busy day.
You're welcome. Thank you,
join us
guys.
today. So thank you so much.
No worries.
Guys, can we get a big, and let's see a complete round of applause. Let's see the board absolutely light up here. I just want to see the board completely light up.
That's awesome.
There we go. Look at all those claps.
My nutrition students never give me this love, man.
Look at all those claps. Let's get a few more claps in there.
Thank you, guys.
Couple more. Let's get 2 more claps. Clap, clap, clap from RJ. And we got one from Darwin. We got claps. Oh, we got a couple. We've got oh, there we go. We've got firecrackers from Aiden. And we've got clap, clap, claps from Angeli. We've got a great class, a class of students who are, and from Aaron. Thanks, Aaron. Salamat. Look at all that. Awesome. That's just great. Okay, perfect. Guys, thank you so much to Dr. Latouche for coming. Dr. Latouche, I just want to tell you right now, I don't know if you can see Dr. Latouche, but everybody here, clapping from everybody.
Yeah, thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate that. So please hit me up, reach out if you guys have questions. Best in wherever the journey takes you. And you know, just one last thing, Lauren, sorry. I hope you guys, you know, are able to continue to foster and support your resilience as, you know, we all navigate what's been a really tough period of time and still will be for a bit, you know, and lean on each other, speak openly about it, and use nutrition to help prop you up. But sorry to interrupt there, Lauren, but just wanted to sneak that in.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Liam. Guys. Thanks, Dr. Latouche. We'll be in touch. And if anybody wants to be in touch with Dr. Latouche, I will share with you in this PowerPoint, Dr. Latouche's email. I think there it is. It's all there.
There we go.
So reach out to him if you have any questions. Yeah, I do know that one of our students, actually, Dr. Latouche, I didn't tell this to you. One of our students is actually interested in a career in naturopathic medicine.
Awesome.
And she was not able to make it today.
Okay.
So she is going to be watching the video, and I suspect she may even be reaching out to you because she's very excited about this as a career.
That's great. I welcome that.
Perfect, guys. Okay, we don't want to take any more of your time. You've been so generous staying late. Thank you so much.
And to you guys. Thank you, guys.
Be well, Dr. Latouche will be in touch.
Take
And
care.
everybody stick around for a couple minutes, please. It's great. Okay, beautiful. All right, everybody. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed it today. I also want to thank Holly from our media program, from media department, Holly is actually making a Hollywood movie out of this. I don't know if she told you, we are all going to be in her movie. It is actually up for an Academy Award. We're very, very excited, Holly, for you, that you made a Hollywood. I mean, how could you not? It's in your name. That's why she decided to make a Hollywood movie on us.
Exactly. I'm flattered. No, you guys will see your class featured on our Instagram page tomorrow. I'm from our dual credit team, so you might have seen me at your orientation or a couple other events, but got a few great photos, couple quotes, so we'll have that up tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Thank you so
Amazing.
much, Holly. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And-
thanks for having me. That was awesome.
It was great. It was great. The interest was fantastic. And guys, thank you so much for staying late. It's already 4:40. I know that we should have been out of here 20 minutes ago. But like I said, this is a 3-year program. We had more people sign up this week for 3 more years. So 20 extra minutes relative to 3 years, it's not such a big deal. Of course, I'm kidding. But in all seriously, I'm not kidding about this. Next week is our last week. Our last week. It's our last week. And so it's our last week before the final exam. So we have our final exam in 2 weeks, and we have our last class next week. Yes, that is why I suggested the 3-year program. So if there are still people, no, you know what? Let me double check. I thought our exam was in 2 weeks from now. But I'm going to double check. Sukanna made a good point. Sukanna said she thought the exam was next week. So I have to double check that. I thought we are done in 2 weeks, but we it could be that next week is our last week. I don't think so, but I will get to you as soon as possible. If next week is our last week, that means that next week is our exam week. And if it is so, then I will let you know ASAP, likely tomorrow. But you will have, just like with the midterm, you will have the entire week to take the test. Okay. Fiona asked, do we actually have an exam? We do have, there is a final exam, yes. And it's going to be based on everything from the midterm on. So it's not from the beginning of the semester. It's only from after the midterm. Okay, so it's not going to be a lot. And it's going to be the same format as the midterm exam. Okay, very same thing. But again, I am going to let all of you guys know. If Holly, do you know? I mean,
Yeah, I'm just gonna hop in really quick. You guys, your exam's in 2 weeks, so you
That's
do
what
a
I
class
thought.
next week and then exam the week after.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought so. Yeah.
You still got one more.
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying that.
Yep, no
Okay.
problem.
Great. So how many questions? So Angeli asked, how many questions are on the exam? Yes, there are 1,000 questions on the exam. All right, so 1,000 questions. But the good thing is it's all the same question. It's just going to take you a lot of time because there's 1,000 questions. But if you get the first question, now the good thing is this. This is the good thing. Since there are 1,000 questions, if you get the first question right, you get all 1,000 questions correct because it's the same question. But if you get the first question wrong, you get all 1,000 questions wrong. That's not a really good way of making up an exam, is it? I just realized that's a stupid way to make up an exam. So I'll have to change it. That's a bad format. So what I will do is I'll probably make it very similar to the last time. I think there were like maybe 40 questions on the last exam. I will provide a format. Yep. And but next week, since we do have a lecture next week, which I am very happy about, next week we are going to continue our series on popular diets. So next week we're going to be talking about the paleo diet. All right. So that means so far we will have covered the Mediterranean diet, which was very similar to the Canada Food Guide diet, right? They were both the same. Last week we talked about the keto diet. Next week, we're talking about the paleo diet. These are all diets that are really, really popular. If everybody remembers, in our PowerPoint from last week, there was a slide with a link to the most popular diets that were rated in the year 2021. I think that would be a really interesting article for you to read. You don't have to. It's not going to be on the test or anything like that, but it gives you an idea of how many diets are out there these days. Now, the keto and the paleo and the Mediterranean diet are probably the most popular. Doesn't mean that they're the best for you, but they're the most popular. We certainly know keto is not a good diet for you, and we do know Mediterranean is a good diet for you. All right, so anyway, I don't want to keep you guys any longer. That is, Fiona, that's fantastic. Harsh has asked, how long will you get to write the, how much time will we get for the exam? You get 3 years. It's a lot of time, okay? And that's because some of you are in my 3-year class program. So you will have 3 years. If you're taking the 3-year program, of course that is. If you've signed up for my 3-year program, you'll have 3 years to write the exam. If you're not signed up for the 3-year program, you'll probably have maybe about 2 hours or so to take the exam, okay? Of course, I'm kidding. If there's one thing that you will not miss from this course is my bizarre sense of humor. There is no 3-year course. I just want to make that clear. And the exam will not be given for a 3-year period. Okay, let me see. Fiona can't wait for the next 3 years. Well, you may have to wait a little longer, Fiona, because I have to find a teacher to teach that for you. Unless you want to. Fiona, would you like to? I'm going to offer to anybody here, since you guys are all nutrition pros. If somebody is looking for a faculty position, I think I might be able to hire you to teach a 3-year course. All right, seriously. In all seriousness, Fiona has actually signed up to be the professor of nutrition for the 3-year Intro to Nutrition course. All right, guys, let me just see if there's anything else, any other serious questions here. Well, thank you, RJ. Every single one of these classes are so good. That's really, really complimentary. I really, really appreciate that. That makes me feel really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that was really nice. Every single one of those classes are so good. That was, again, thank you, RJ. And it's true, I did tell RJ to write that. So I have to be honest with you. I'm very upfront. I asked RJ to put that in the chat room. So those are from my words, but it's RJ who wrote it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I did not tell RJ to write that. That was from RJ's heart, and I appreciate that. All right, everybody. I will say goodbye. I kind of don't want to say goodbye, actually. I really had so much fun talking with you guys, but it is time to say goodbye. It's actually a half an hour. We stayed a half an hour late. So it's time for you guys to go and have a good dinner. And yes, the Canada Food Guide project is due next week, okay? If anybody is having questions or concerns about that assignment, certainly let me know. If you guys are working on it right now, I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're finding it enjoyable, meaningful, and creative. I'm really excited to see your creativity behind the assignment. All right, I'm going to hang out here for a few minutes in case anybody has questions or wants to talk with me. But until then, thank you so much. We had a full class today, which really warmed my heart, and it really did. Is the Putting All Together diary due next week? We don't have a putting all together diary due next week. You know what? Actually, that Canada Food Guide is our last assignment of the semester. There are no more assignments. There are no more diaries. Yeah, I changed that. I did, Angeli. I did change that, except for you, Angeli. No, Angeli, you can't get out of it that quickly. I did take it away from the rest of the class, but since Angeli, you asked, you are our winner. You get to do a putting it all together diary just for asking about it. No, I'm kidding, Angeli. Do not worry. You do not, you do not have to worry. That is not the winning prize today. The winning prize is, tell them what the winning prize is. The winning prize today is a year's supply of Twizzlers. Yes, Twizzlers, the delicious, nutritious, sorry, I was paid by Twizzlers to say that, but I don't feel in my heart I can say that. Okay, somebody does have a question. Natalia actually has a question on how to do the homework. So Natalia, stick around afterwards. I will answer that question for you. If anybody else has questions that they like to ask, stick around. Otherwise, we will see everybody next week. So long, everybody.
See you soon, sir. Thank you.
Ah, great. Good to hear from you, Aaron. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you guys. Have an amazing weekend. Happy long weekend to everybody. Stay safe. See ya, Cornisha. See ya, Harsh. Bye-bye, Jacinta. Okay, guys have questions?
Can I just start with mine so I can
For
undo it?
sure.
So I read through the entire Canada Food Guide along with the slides that you gave us.
Yep.
And it says in the bottom on in the directions that should we create our own personalized Canada Food Guide as well
Right.
based on that one?
Right.
But like I'm a bit confused because English is my second language and I'm not sure what do you mean by like creating our own personalized.
Well, let's say for example, in the Filipino culture, right? Are there maybe foods that are specific in the Filipino culture that would fit into the Canada Food Guide? So for example, let's say your family makes Filipino dishes, right? And you want to follow the Canada Food Guide. So what kind of starches, what kind of carbs might be typical in a Filipino diet that might be different from the Canadian diet? Or what kind of proteins, what kind of meats are typical in a Filipino diet? So that would be one way of creating a personalized Canada Food Guide that relates more to the culture that you come from. Does that give you an idea?
Yeah. So I'm gonna use like the Canada Food Guide to make my own like personalized as it is.
Exactly. So let's say you wanted to encourage your family to eat according to the Canada Food Guide, but let's say your family likes to eat foods from the Philippines. So which foods in Filipino culture do you think would be appropriate for the Canada Food Guide? Which carbs that are in your diet, in your cultural diet, you think would be appropriate? Which proteins? Which kind of fats? Remember, we're looking at eating healthy fats. What kind of healthy fats are part of the Filipino cultural foods? Does that make sense?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you so much, sir.
Great. Now, the only thing is, I forgot to tell you, if you're going to create Filipino foods, you have to cook the meal and you're going to have to bring it to me next week for me to sample.
Of course, I would love to give you Filipino.
All right, so I'm expecting that, and it better not be Jolly Bee. I don't want you going to Jolly Bee and getting food from Jolly Bee and telling me that this is what you made.
No, don't worry.
Because I know the food from Jolly Bee. I can tell the food from Jolly Bee.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a wonderful.
Magandang gabi.
Magandang gabi.
Okay, Sukina. Sukena, how are you? Yes, Sukena, how is Eid al-Fitr? How is your Eid holiday? It was good. Did you have a good feast? Now that might be something very interesting to do for the Canada Food Guide, is to do a food guide based on the cultural foods from your ethnic background, as a suggestion. But that's just a suggestion. How can I help you? What questions do you have for me? Did you have any questions, Sukena? Oh, I think you get the assignment. Okay. Oh, I think I read another question from you here, Sukena. Sukena says, sir, can you be our professor for the rest of our life? Well, that's a nice question, Sukena. I appreciate that. I will have to work out a salary requirements for that. So I will talk to the people at Seneca. If you want to start a petition, you can definitely start a petition and see how many signatures you get, and I will submit it. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. We can do the food guide based on our sports nutrition. Absolutely, Alana, 100%. I would love to see something like that. Exactly. That's one of the creative ways that you can personalize and tailor make the food guide to your situation, to your needs. So absolutely, whatever your sports requirements are for your sport, I would love it. So if you do a little bit of research on sports nutrition for your sport and then try and apply the Canada Food Guide to your sport, that would be perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right. Great. And what is your sport, by the way, Lana? Okay, I think you guys are, let me see, long distance running. Oh, that's me. Me too. Me too. Well, my first sport in high school was long distance running, and then I later got into weight training. So I am on the same page as you. Now they are very, very different requirements. I'll tell you, weight training has a very different nutritional requirement than long distance running. Clearly, right? Long distance running, you're going to be eating a lot more carbs. Weight training, you're not going to be eating as many carbs. You're going to be putting more effort into eating more protein. Both are really, you can choose one or the other, or you can do both, whatever you wish. All right. So any other questions, Sukena? Not sure if you're here still here, if you have any other questions. Yes, you have a good long weekend as well. Stay safe. Keep wearing that mask when you have to. Oh, okay, Alana, that's great. Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, that's good. That's great. Bye, Sukena. Sukena's left, and Alana, that's great. I do the same as you, actually. So anyway, good to have you. I'm glad that you were able to make it to class, and I will be posting this so that you won't have missed anything. Okay. Signing off.